So recognitions. Mayor, you have the floor.
Mr. President, if I could have Kenny Anderson come forward. We have a CAFY Youth of the Month this month, and Kenny is going to present a youth with some awards.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This time, if the CAFY committee members will come up and join me, and also our winner, Travion Crutcher. Travion, I'll ask you to stand right here, if you will, please. So every month we have the privilege of recognizing a young person in our community who is making a difference. And tonight we have the pleasure of recognizing Travion Crutcher as the Rocket City Broadcasting CAFY Young Citizen of the Month. Among some of his accomplishments are that he's a member of Future Business Leaders of America. He works with Boy Scout Troop 400. He's a member of the 100 Black Men Greater Huntsville chapter. He volunteers for Manor House, the Salvation Army. He also has worked for CASA and also served in a variety of other capacities. In addition to his community service, he has an extraordinary record as a student, and he has so many recognitions and awards that there are too many to name at this time. But for those and many more reasons, we want to recognize Travion Crutcher as the March Rocket City Broadcasting CAFY Young Citizen of the Month. Congratulations. Travion, a few people have a few things to give you, and they're going to do that very quickly, starting with Dr. Hobbs.
Travion, I've seen you in the community and the great mentors you have, and you're doing a great job. On behalf of Huntsville Utilities and our CEO, Mr. Jay Stowe, we would love to give you a Huntsville Utilities bag that you can show wherever you go. And inside that bag, we have some great items to help you along your way as you continue to soar. And also, on behalf of the Optimist Club, Mr. Clyde Nivea, we have a great award for you in here as well, and we just appreciate all that you bring to our community. Continue to do great things, young man.
Thank
you.
Good afternoon. My name is James Kelly from Oakwood University. I'm right here in Huntsville, Alabama. This is a bag full of goodies from Oakwood University, and we would love to have you as a student when it's time for you to head off to college, all right? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Hi, I'm Clarine Teague Johnson with the Human Relations Commission for the City of Huntsville. And on behalf of CAFY, the Human Relations, and our mayor of this great city, I present you your certificate, and congratulations, and keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I'm Kevin Daniels from Rocket City Broadcasting. Congratulations. We wish you much success. Fantastic job from all of us at Star 99.1, the Rocket 95.1, and 98.1 The Beat. We want to give you a lot of goodies. And if you decide you want to get into broadcasting, come see me, okay?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Crutcher, we give you the certificate on behalf of our police chief, Chief Mark McMurray, and all the Huntsville police officers in recognition of exemplary service to our community on this 23rd day of March. And while we're on the recruiting, we'd be glad to have you join the Huntsville Police Department. All right, congratulations, sir.
Travion, on behalf of the city, I have you a coin from the city. And the coin from the city go to people who make Huntsville a better place. And through all the work that you've done, through everything that you have done to improve this city, we want to say thank you and carry on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. And I think we have some mentors out there from the 100 Black Men. Thank y'all very much for coming and being here. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mayor Battle. Council members, we have a resolution acknowledging Dr. Horace R. Carney for his contribution to music and on receiving the Dr. Mattie Moss Clark Award on April 7, 2017. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
A motion by Mr. Culver, second by Mr. Kling. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Mr. Culver, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be presenting this resolution and on behalf of the mayor and city council. My privilege. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Culver. Council members, we have a few changes to the agenda. The mayor has requested that we add 15AA 15AA is an appointment of a Director of Natural Resources. You should have a copy on your desk. We'll need to formally add that to the agenda. The chair moves to add 15AA to the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Also, 15M is going to require unanimous consent to be voted on tonight, and the mayor has requested that as well. Under announcements, you'll notice that Dr. Robinson is not with us tonight. She is dealing with a family medical emergency, so please keep Dr. Robinson and her mother in your prayers, and we certainly miss her. We have no business with outside legal representation. We do have public hearings to be held. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on ordinance number 17-080, zoning 38.92 acres of newly annexed property lying on the east side of Old Big Cove Road and north of Hampton Ridge Drive to Residence 1A District. This was set February 9th, 2017 at the regular council meeting. Ms. Nichols?
This zoning request is newly annexed land. This property is approximately 38.92 acres. It's located on the east side of Old Big Cove Road, and it is north of the Hampton Ridge Drive. This will be an additional phase of the existing Hampton Ridge subdivision, and planning staff would like to propose that this zoning designation be zoned Residence 1A, which is consistent with the remaining property in Hampton Ridge.
Thank you very much. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on this particular issue? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed. The chair moves for approval. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Culver. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Now is the time and place for a public hearing on ordinance number 17-082, zoning 1.16 acres of newly annexed property lying on the north side of Hartside Road and north of Victoria Hills Drive to Residence 1A District. This was set February 9th, 2017 at the regular council meeting. Ms. Nichols?
This zoning request is a part of the Mountain View Acres subdivision. This property is approximately 1.16 acres. It's located on the north side of Hartside Drive and north of Victoria Hills, Hartside Road and north of Victoria Hills Drive. This property has a proposed zoning designation of Residence 1A, which is consistent with the adjacent uses in the Mountain View Acres subdivision.
Thank you, Ms. Nichols. Does anyone from the public wish to address the council on this particular issue? The public hearing is now closed. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Keith. Discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We have one public hearing to be set. We have a resolution to declare a public nuisance located at 29611 Laura Ridge Drive Northwest, Harvest, Alabama, and to set the date for when objections will be heard. This will be set for April 13, 2017 at the regular council meeting. The chair moves to set the hearing.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second by? Mr. Culver. Discussion? All those in favor of setting the hearing say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We're now at communications and reports. I'll call for the public to speak. When you hear your name, please come to the microphone. You'll have 3 minutes to address the council. Mr. Anthony Balch. Sir, if you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Anthony Balch. I live at 12225 North Shawnee on Green Mountain in Dr. Robinson's district. I laid 2 pieces of correspondence I've received from Huntsville Utilities in front of each of you. And I'll get right to the point here. I'll read this first one. Unfortunately, we were unable to obtain a reading of your electric meter on our recently scheduled read date at the above referenced location. This was due to no one answering the door/call box. Therefore, your reading has been estimated. Please call our office phone number in advance to receive the scheduled read date on your location. This will allow you to ensure we have access to obtain meter readings. Second paragraph. Also, this letter serves as notification your account has been charged a service fee of $50 as a result of returning to the location to obtain the readings, to eliminate future return trips, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I don't know if any of you, well, I'm sure our lawyer might catch this incongruity here. In the first paragraph, they said because they couldn't get in, they estimated my bill. And then they say they tried to come a second time. If they estimated the bill, they did not come a second time. Now, I used to receive one of these every year or so, and I'd pay the $50 and go on. I have already received 2 of these in 2017. If you look at the second piece of correspondence, you see my current bill. You'll see that I have $134 in penalties with only $223 bill. Now, I know that this body does approve or disapprove of Huntsville Utilities rate request and so forth. So my question is, do you also provide consumer protection? Now, I think Huntsville Utilities is a great organization. They do a good job, but they are the largest corporate entity in the city of Huntsville. And I think that a measure of consumer protection is needed. I would wonder if you might have the audit authority to look and see if there hasn't been a spike in these little love letters, $50 love letters, since you turned down their rate request. Now, don't get me wrong, there's nobody more gung-ho about Google Fiber than I am. I'm the guy most responsible for the first fiber optics network in Huntsville at Intergraph Corporation back in 1983. And that network was in place until they moved into their new building. But I am afraid that I'm paying for the Google Fiber with these slightly ridiculous charges. Any comments, questions?
Mr. Balch, Mr. Gertis is right behind you from Huntsville Utilities. Have you talked to Huntsville Utilities yet about this?
Not about this one. I
Okay.
have sent in the past, and I'm not here necessarily just for myself.
Sure.
I'm saying that I do believe that the city, if you do not have a proactive structure in place for providing consumer protection, you certainly need to.
Yeah.
This is in no way knocking Huntsville Utilities.
Okay.
In the past, I did receive one of these. I put the essence of my comments here in the bill which I returned, and I did, they didn't charge me.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do is get with Mr. Gertis and go over that. And Mr. Gertis, we may call you back to find out more about the situation. But Mr. Balch, if you're not satisfied, then come back in and we'll talk about it.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Leonard Ledbetter. Welcome, Mr. Ledbetter. If you'll state your name and address for the record, please.
Leonard Ledbetter, 1203 Moyle Drive, Huntsville, Alabama.
Welcome.
I'm here to discuss the school patrol down there at Bailey Cove and Hobbs Road. There was a school patrol down there crossing, and then the lady got sick and they never did put it back. We have 13 kids crossing that road today, and that Bailey Cove is a busy, busy road. And I can't understand why you can't put that patrol back to protect these kids down there.
So that's your question, is the school patrol?
Yeah.
Mr. Hamilton, do you know anything about this issue?
I do. I mean, the school patrol is routinely evaluated in terms of the demand from children and is also coordinated with the school system. In that particular case, the demand was not sufficient to justify it, and the school system agreed that it was appropriate to move that resource somewhere else. But I think it would be good if the gentleman wants to speak to Chief McMurray and get more detail on that. That's an issue that Chief McMurray has looked at, and it's one that we've communicated with the school system on, and they agreed with that decision.
Okay. Is there anyone from the police department here tonight?
I can't understand you.
Yeah, Chief McMurray's right outside if he wants to go out and button.
Sir, the chief will speak to you about it, and then please follow up with your council person.
All right, and I want to talk to you about Hobbs Road.
Okay. Okay, you have like a minute left. Please go ahead.
Hobbs Road needs paving. That school is on that road, and you had to get over from a school, about a block right there at school, headed to Parkway. You had to get over next to curve to miss all the potholes and things.
Okay.
And I spoke to Ms. Robson last year about it, and this year about it, and I can't understand that you won't pay that road, because she said you was going to pay the west side of Hobbs Road, but not the east side. Now, I'll tell you what happened to me. I was coming down Hobbs Road from Parkway, and I dropped something, looked down, and before I know it, I was headed up on that curve. And kids walk down that sidewalk from school after get out and go to school, and one can go on up there and kill a kid. And if you can pave from down there to below the partway down there, Green Cove Road,
Okay. Sir, your time's up.
east and west.
Thank you. We'll make sure Dr. Robinson knows about it. Mr. Hamilton, do you have anything to add?
I do, and I've talked to Dr. Robinson about it. We've had Public Works has gone and scored and graded those roads like we do every street in the city every year. And while that one scores in the high 30s and is approaching the time where it would hit our repaving program, right now, our funding level, we're repaving things that are in the 40s. So I'd say it's getting close, but it did not meet the threshold for this year's funding.
Thank you. Ms. Jackie Reed?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I am Jackie Reed. I want to thank you for allowing.
Ms. Reed, where do you live?
This week.
Pardon?
Where do you live? You need to state your address, please, for the record.
City Hall.
Okay.
Down here more, I'm at my house. If I could get in upstairs, I could learn more. But anyway, Jack Coleman Drive.
Thank you.
Now don't count that as my minutes.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Please, I'd like to ask everyone to pray for Councilman Jenny Robertson's family. I've been reading it on the telephone, and it's a sad situation. So let's all pray and hope we can help some way. Many issues are bothering me in this city. I know when it bothers me, it's going to bother you. Traffic is terrible, terrible, terrible. I don't know what or when y'all are going to do something about it, but I saw an MPO meeting down here, a Department of Transportation meeting the other night that was not advertised. There was about 6 people sitting in here, and the department director was in here. And is that the way y'all handle the city business with the Department of Transportation with the state? That's wrong. That's pretty bad that nobody don't know nothing about these meetings. I don't see any meetings on 42. Whoever's handling that, you need to get with them. I'm sick and tired of bringing that up. Every week I have to bring that up. Jefferson Street, please. I would like to know who was smart enough to come in to think about that, to move that sidewalk over in the middle of that street. Y'all had to give him some inches. I know he don't own half of that street that he's built that sidewalk in. And I would like to know, and I have to make appointments to get upstairs, but there's a lot of appointments going to be made. I want to know how much that costs the city taxpayers to build Charlie Seeley's condos, sidewalks into the street. I'd like to know the value of that for y'all. Anyway, it's just too much going on. The jail deal, I never did find out what it took to close a jail deal. Y'all didn't bring it up. You said you'd close the deal. How much more did it cost us? And while I'm on the jail deal, I was at the county commission meeting the other day, and I overheard, and somebody told me I was wrong. I'd like to ask for another minute. Anyway, Dale Strong said he got a letter from the mayor trying, they was doing an appraisal, it was on the agenda of the courthouse. And I said, I didn't know y'all were selling the jail. Well, they heard from the city they wanted to combine the county courthouse and the new city municipal building. I hope you all back away from that. We've already spent $55 million overrun by the taxpayers on your joint jail. And plus probably 50 more million for lawyers. I don't know that. Nobody ain't told me that. If I look into it, I'll find out. But you do not need to tear the courthouse down. And I think that's part of the plan, Mayor Battle, that you're stretching out here to tear the courthouse down.
Ms. Reed, your time's up.
I'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure. Mayor Battle?
And, Mr. President, we might just answer a couple of those real quick. You know, with the traffic being terrible, I think that Mrs. Reed probably came into an MPO meeting of the Citizens Advisory Council, which is a sub-council of the MPO. The MPO meetings are all open to the public, and we have notification on each of those. The county commission, we did receive a letter first of the week from County Commissioner Chairman Dale Strong about the possibilities of just exploring, as we explored the idea of building a new city hall, exploring the idea of a government building, seeing if there could be any utilization of taxpayers' money and savings of dollars. We are right now in the middle of just a space utilization study just to see how much space we will need for a new city hall, make sure that we are utilize space properly, make sure that we're not building extra space that we don't need. and make sure that we can do this most efficiently as possible. And we will meet later this week with County Commissioner Dale Strong. And if they have an interest, it would probably work very well for them to do the same space utilization study and see where they were with it. If they have an interest in doing a joint project. So that's the only place we are with this. We are in the very, very early stages of it. We're probably 10 years out from actually being able to move into something, and that means this building has to last 10 years. The garage across the street has to last 10 years, and a lot of buildings that are getting very antiquated that we have to make sure that we can have them last till we can get utilization for the next generation of space that our city workers will be working in.
Thank you. Council members and to the public, the mayor and the administration has asked that we take 15M and 15N out of order. With your agreement, we'll do that. 15M is an ordinance authorizing the issuance of one taxable limited obligation TIF revenue warrant, TIF 5 Series 2017A, in aggregate principal amount not to exceed $1 million. And this was asked to be voted on tonight, so the chair moves for unanimous consent to consider this item tonight. Is there a second? A second by Mr. Kling. All those in favor of considering this tonight, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We have unanimous consent. The chair moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. Mayor, if you could explain this or have one of your staff members explain it, please. Ms. Sargent, if you'll explain this, please.
Mr. Riley and I will together. This is an additional funding of the TIF 5 EUL, which is the Redstone Gateway project with us, and LW Redstone. They've come back and said that they have additional development scope that they're about to begin, which requires an additional $1 million of funding. The way this project works is it's a $1 million drawdown. They fund it to the city, which means the city has no risk involved. As they submit invoices, we pay them, and then we return back to them and ask for payment of those invoices.
Okay. Mr. Riley, do you have anything to add?
I believe that covers it. It's a very complicated financial transaction which has occurred, but it's one that's very favorable to the city and removes the risk from the city in this process. And so that is a basic explanation, though, as to what's occurring tonight.
Thank you. Council members, further discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It carries. N is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute supplemental development agreement TIF 5 Series 2017A to the annexation and development agreement between the City of Huntsville and LW Redstone LLC in the amount of $1 million. The chair moves for approval. Second by Mr. Keith. Discussion. Ms. Sargent, is there anything you want to add to this one?
No, just one additional point is that all payments of this debt are made back to the LW Redstone Group out of additional property tax that is gained from improvements made at that site.
Thank you. Further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It carries. Council members, we have several board appointments to be voted on. We have a resolution to reappoint Fred Rodriguez to the Bingo Review Committee, Seat 2, for a term to expire April 8, 2019. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We have a resolution to reappoint William Tomanillo to the Bingo Review Committee, Seat 4, for a term to expire April 8, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Mr. Culver. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 3 is a resolution to reappoint Rosa Toussaint to the Community Development Citizens Advisory Council, Seat 8, for a term to expire April 12, 2020.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Mr. Culver. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 4 is a resolution to reappoint Michelle Cummings to the Community Development Citizens Advisory Council, Seat 9, for a term to expire April 28, 2020.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Mr. Culver. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 5 is a resolution to reappoint Sidney White to the Huntsville-Madison County Mental Health Board, Place 7, for a term to expire April 1st, 2023. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Council members, are there any board appointment nominations tonight?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Kling.
I received a letter, and I'm sure council members all did, concerning the Madison County Building Association supporting Mr. Todd Slyman for vacancy on the Industrial Development Board. I don't have the list and haven't been able to find the board appointment list. Is there a vacancy that's coming up, and are we within that 1 month window of it?
I can't answer you right now. You can either look on the internet or we can handle it next meeting.
Okay, we'll just handle it next
Okay.
meeting then.
Thank you. We have a resolution authorizing expenditures for payment. Mr. Kling?
Mr. President, move for payment of vouchers in the amount of $10,138,797.51.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Kling, second by Mr. Culver. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Mr. Kling, do you have anything else from the Finance Committee?
No, Mr. President, thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Battle, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the record, I'd like to make the following appointments. Harry Garber to the Board of Zoning Adjustment for a 3-year term to expire March 9th, 2020. David Branham to the Board of Zoning Adjustments for a 3-year term to expire March 9th, 2020. Woody Sanderson to the Madison County District Communications Board, the 911 Board, for a 4-year term. This is a joint appointment between the city and the county for a 4-year term to expire April 30th, 2021. And tonight we'd like to I'd like to recognize Danny Shea, who's out there. Danny has been our director of the city's Natural Resources and Environmental Management Department. Most of you probably don't hear a whole lot about the Natural Resources Environmental Management Department. In fact, when I had talked to Carol, I said, Carol, what's the name of that department? And I always call it the Natural Resources Department. But Danny's has given us 35 years of service, and we want to say thank you to Danny for 35 great years. He has been our Doogie Howser. He knows everything. He has more degrees than anybody in the city of Huntsville, and he honestly does. He has degrees in just about everything from a law degree to bionics. I'm convinced that he's probably the smartest person that we've ever had in the city of Huntsville. But with Danny's retirement, I'd like to ask the council to approve the appointment of Scott Cardno to the position of Director of Natural Resources and Environmental Management, Grade 21, Step 8. The resolution to appoint him is at your seat, and there are copies of with council members. And I'd like Danny to come up and kind of say a little bit about his time here, and also a little bit about Scott too, to give you an idea about Scott has been the number 2 person there for many years. Danny has kind of groomed him and brought him up, and Danny, thank you for a whole lot of great years.
Thank you, Mayor. Danny Shea, Director of Natural Resources, for about 7 or 8 more days. And I talked to Scott. Scott had actually planned to come to the council meeting tonight. There was a meeting with EPA. I thought it might be kind of pointless for me to go, so Scott went and met with EPA. He called me this afternoon, stuck in Atlanta traffic. I said, Scott, why don't you forget about the council meeting? When you get home, go home, and I'll cover things at the council meeting. Scott has been with the Natural Resources Department for 27 years. He actually started a few months before I did. I was with Water Pollution Control before I went to Natural Resources. And he's worked in every aspect of what we do. Ambient monitoring, very knowledgeable about the noise ordinance and the blasting ordinance. He's worked in permitting, enforcement, really everything that we deal with. And I know at least some of the council members have dealt with Scott in the past. I think he's a great choice, and I'm delighted to feel that things are in very capable hands when I leave.
Now, Danny, how many degrees do you have?
5.
5, okay. And if I could ask council to pass this resolution, it also needs to have as of April 1st, 2017, so we got a couple more days out of Danny before he leaves.
I would so move.
Okay, first, it's 15AA, and we're going to take it out of order. Ms. Kling, you've made the motion to approve, and Mr. Culver, you've seconded that. Discussion. All those in favor of 15AA, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. Thank you, council members. 15AA is passed. Mayor, do you have anything else tonight?
Nothing else. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Keith?
Thank you, President. Wanted to say just briefly, this Monday, I had a town hall around community policing. And I just can't thank everybody enough for the individuals who came out, the mayor, John, Mr. Riley, Ms. Grimshaw. Really, it felt like the whole of City Hall was there. In that meeting, I had an opportunity to sort of converse about what has happened this past month and what transpired after the incident I had with the police. I've learned so much firsthand from ride-alongs and conversations with our chief, as well as conversations with the community, more importantly. What was produced there was a perspective, a policy of which I think can do two things, as Chief always says. Let's reduce crime and make a connection to our community. I want to say again, I can't thank enough an individual like Councilman Culver, who stood up and said he listened to it and believed in it, as somebody who was once a police practitioner. But I do want to set the record straight. What I think is very important, and a lot of people have sent messages and emails and texts and so forth and so on. As we sit behind this dais, the importance for everybody to understand is that you are to produce the problem, identify it, and we are to produce the solution. What shortens the distance between your problem and our solution is innovation. Something new, some change, some perspectives, a conglomerate, I guess you can say, of ideas and practices. And I think that Monday night was the start of that. And I think that moving forward, after I've now, I can't no longer say I'm the rookie in this thing. After I've, sort of gotten down in the dirt and experienced my first perspective of what needs to be changed in my district, I now know it's going to take citizens and community as well as City Hall. So again, I can't thank everybody enough that was in attendance. And I think it was really a learning lesson for me moving forward, but a learning lesson for my community as well, that the expectation they should have when they elect an official to go to City Hall is for him to come back with some sense of a solution. And if we can't find it, then we try, together to find that innovative step to move the needle the right way. Other than that, I also wanted to say thank you to Dan Sanders. I don't think we say thank you enough from this dais about what employees do for the city. I spent 3 to 4 days with individuals on North Crestview when they yelled and shouted and dragged me up and down the street talking about one speed bump. And I went to Dan and said, hey, look, I'll give you a box of donuts and a dunk card if you could just get me a speed bump. And as he really went through the process of explaining to me why he could not put a speed bump there, I went back slowly to that community to tell him that. But before I got there, he sent me this beautiful email and said, I've got a solution. And he gave me an innovative way of how we've affected this neighborhood, and they were beyond happy. And it was just some curb and cement work, but they were satisfied. And I don't think people understand that happens every day in this community. This City Hall produces innovative solutions to everyday problems, and that's why you live in the greatest city just this side of heaven. So I just want to say thank you to everybody again.
Thank you, Mr. Keith. Mr. Kling?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, I also had a town meeting Monday night, and it was basically a very low-key, informal thing that I do each month at the library. We had about 8 people there. And the hot-button issue that the folks wanted to talk about, and it's their meeting, so we go where they want to go, was about Huntsville High School parking. And I wanted to ask if Dan Sanders, is he here? Is he?
Mr. Sanders,
Okay,
if
there he
you'll
is.
state your name and title,
Okay.
please.
Dan Sanders, Traffic Engineering Director.
Okay. Let me say that similar to Danny Shea, Dan Sanders is one of those nuts and bolts guys who takes care of things day in, day out that we have. They're not the big flashy things, but what you guys do is very much appreciated. Now that I kind of primed the pump a little bit, I wanted to, I guess, just pass over to you the concerns that were expressed to me by residents about the off-street Huntsville High School parking congesting on Ponciana and also on Marchutes. Now, I know you've been working on some other streets. Gallatin, I think, has worked out pretty well, and I know you've looking at some innovative solutions to deal with the problem until the school system's able to resolve the parking issue on campus. But just wanted to ask, I told the folks I'd contact you and ask that you would also take a look at those 2 streets.
Yes, sir, Councilman. I have been working on Ponciana. Actually, that's one at the top of the list. Now, Marshoots, this is the first I've heard about it, but I will be happy to entertain any kind of anything that we can do there to address that problem as well. Maybe I can get with you offline and maybe get a point of contact or get with you on that for the details.
I think basically we're dealing with migration. When you have like on cars that were parked on Gallatin, since the signs went up, no parking on school days, they've just been migrating to different locations. I think that's kind of what we're experiencing on that.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay.
We're just pushing them to a different place.
Yeah. But anyway, thank you, and it's just people in Mr. Russell's district parking in the neighborhoods of my district. But thank you for your good work, and we don't say.
And we're waiting for you to solve the problem.
That's why we got Dan Sanders here. But anyway, I think kind of chiming in on what Mayor had said, there are so many folks like yourself, Danny Shea, Keith Atchley, the police department folks that deal with these day-to-day things, and a lot of them are below the radar, but they are very, very much appreciated by the residents of the neighborhoods who contact us, and then we contact you guys on their behalf. And I guess we don't say it very often up here, but we do appreciate the good work that y'all do.
Thank you very much.
Okay. And Mr. President, one other thing I wanted to ask, if Mr. Hamilton could give us an update on where we are on the municipal golf course management.
Mr. Hamilton?
Sure. So as council knows, we released an RFP seeking bidders to come in and upgrade and operate the golf course. We had one entity that actually responded to that. We had multiple that expressed interest and engaged with Mr. Ivy and others to come in and evaluate the course, but we only had one that actually responded formally to the RFP. Unfortunately, that one response did not include required documentation in order to meet the minimum requirements for that RFP. We wrote back to them, gave them the opportunity to correct the shortfalls in their response, which they chose not to do. What that does, though, because of going through that formal process, and it's something that the legal department is having to monitor very closely, it does allow us then to reach out to other entities to see if there's others that may be interested in coming back with proposals for the course. Mr. Ivy and I met with 3 different entities this week. The last one was yesterday. So this is kind of late breaking in terms of our ability to kind of analyze what their input is. The challenge that we have, and it's something that we've talked about for a while, is that the course under the former operators declined in its condition significantly, and it will require significant investment to bring it back to an appropriate standard if we want to have any chance of it succeeding. I don't think that we want to put money into it just to put a Band-Aid on it and then be back having this conversation again in 2 or 3 years because no one wants to play on it. Part of the challenge for any private operator is that the demand for the course has dropped significantly over the last few years. And there's probably a combination of reasons for that. Some of that may be just the declining demand for golf in general, but also the condition of the course, we think, was a significant part of that. So we are working through with recommendations that came from those 3 entities. We think that there is a possibility that at least one of them could be a viable partner. And that's part of the issue is we're looking for a partner, for somebody who will invest some capital and then have the opportunity to generate revenues to get an appropriate return on that investment. So we're still working it. I think the next steps is really to solidify which of them is really going to be an appropriate partner, and then develop a concept that we need to bring back to you. It will require budgeting. It will require investment for us to move forward, and ultimately, obviously, council has to allocate those funds. And it will be trade-off versus other things in the budget, as is typical. But we will be having that conversation with you, we think, here pretty soon.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your good work and Steve Ivey's good work on this. And again, I think the bottom line, Mr. President, is that the city folks, Mr. Hamilton and others, they're just kind of cleaning up a mess that was made by the operator of the golf course who's no longer there. He didn't live up to his contract, and it's easy to point fingers, but if he lived up to his contract and done what he was supposed to, then we wouldn't be where we are now. And I know there are a lot of golfers that have been inconvenienced, but again, where I'm sitting, I see the city folks stepping in and try to clean up the mess that was made by the operator and trying to get it back on operation as quickly as they can.
Thank you, Mr.
That's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Culver?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just want to compliment Mr. Keith, Councilman Keith, on his town hall meeting. I thought it was very informative and a lot of great ideas. And I'm certainly open again and receptive to helping in any way that I can. Councilman Kling, I regret I missed your town hall. You're just right across the street from us there, but maybe we'll catch you the next time. Also, since Dan Sanders has just kind of been on the hot seat, I'd be remiss too if I didn't just brag on him a little bit with a situation that he's helped me with in Midtown on the Park. It was a very, very, very difficult situation. And he basically said to me, he said, Councilman, you know, this is what I do, and I can assure you, you know, we can handle it. Just let me handle it. And I did, and I haven't even called him since, but I haven't gotten any subsequent phone calls, so I thank you for that. Also, we're tentatively looking at a town hall meeting, Mayor, sometime in April, maybe the third week. We're still working out some of the logistics. This is going to be in Sherwood Park. I believe what we're looking at, some of the concerns that I've received from constituents in that area has been not just the street paving, but what are we going to do with the street, whether we will make it a boulevard or whether it will remain a highway. So that's going to involve a lot of input from the community and property owners in that area. So we'll be looking forward to move forward with that. And we're working also on a town hall meeting in Cobblestone, which will be sometime in June. We're going to be doing our town halls every about 3 months or so. So just stay tuned. Ms. Scrimpshaw, I want to get with you so we can get some of those good communications going that you have and your staff to get the word out so that the public will be able to attend. And that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Culver. We're now at 13, unfinished business items for action. 13A is ordinance number 17-170, declaring certain items surplus and to be sold at public auction. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kling. Discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. We have 3 items for introduction. 14A is the introduction of an ordinance annexing 26.6 acres of land lying on the west side of Sockwell Drive and south of Hazeland Road. B is the introduction of an ordinance declaring certain equipment surplus and be donated. C is the introduction of an ordinance declaring equipment surplus and be sold at public auction. We're now at 15 new business items for consideration or action. Keep in mind we've already passed 15M, 15N, and 15AA. Are there any items you'd like to hold? The chair wishes to hold 15P as in Paul and 15Y. Are there any other items? 15M has already been passed, 15N has already been passed, 15P is being held, and 15Y is being held. Are there any others? Hearing none. 15A is a resolution authorizing acceptance of donations. 15B is a resolution authorizing travel expenses. C is an ordinance amending budget ordinance number 16-659 by changing appropriating funding for various departments and funds. D is an ordinance amending budget ordinance number 16-659 for preliminary carry forward amounts for various departments and funds. E is the ordinance amending budget ordinance number 16-659 by changing the authorized personnel strength in various departments and funds. F is a resolution authorizing mayor to agreements with the low bidders meeting specifications outlined in the attached summary of bids for acceptance. G is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a special employment agreement between the city of Huntsville and Brenda Martin. H is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute modification number 2 to the agreement between the city of Huntsville and Family Services Center, Inc., modifying budgeted line items for 1,000 Crestline Drive is funded by Home Investment Partnership funds. I is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter a real estate sales contract with Robert J. Baker, Bishop of Birmingham in Alabama, a corporation sole for the use and benefit of St. Joseph's Parish for the sale of property located at 2400 Bell Avenue. J is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute modification number 3 to the agreement between the City of Huntsville and Family Services Center, Inc., modifying budgeted line items for 2810 Barber Drive as funded by Home Investment Partnership funds. K is a resolution authorizing the mayor to a special employment agreement between the City of Huntsville and Hillary Gould. L is a resolution authorizing the mayor in a subordination agreement with the Alabama Multifamily Loan Consortium, Inc., and the Alabama Housing Finance Authority for the Clarkson Square Senior Multifamily Project. O is a resolution authorizing the City of Huntsville to conduct condemnation proceedings for the acquisition of certain property for the Northern Bypass, project number ST 045000015. Q is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter agreement between the City of Huntsville and Sane Associates for engineering design services for secured gateway sanitary sewer, project number 7117 SS01. R is a resolution authorizing the mayor to agreement between the City of Huntsville and low bidder Reed Contracting Service, Inc. for US 72 access management improvement between SR 255 and Old Monrovia Road, project number 7116 TI05. S is a resolution authorizing a special employment agreement between the City of Huntsville and Alicia Revelle. T is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign a plat entitled Re-Subdivision of Lots 4B and 4C of a Re-Subdivision of Lot 4 of a Re-Subdivision of Lot 4 of Bob Heath Drive at Cummings Research Park West, a re-subdivision of Lot 1, Block 7, a re-subdivision of a portion of Cummings Research Park West, Block 7, and a re-subdivision of Block 7's Cummings Research Park West and other lands, and a re-subdivision of Lot 4 of a re-subdivision of Lot 4 of Bob Heath Drive at Cummings Research Park West, a re-subdivision of Lot 1, Block 7, a re-subdivision of a portion of Cummings Research Park West, Block 7, and a re-subdivision of Block 7, Cummings Research Park West, and other lands. U is a resolution authorizing the mayor an agreement between the City of Huntsville and Kavanaugh McDonald Consulting, LLC for the purpose of providing actuarial analysis of the city's post-employment benefits. V is a resolution authorizing the mayor to an enrollment agreement between the City of Huntsville and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama. W is a resolution authorizing the mayor to enter a confidentiality and non-disclosure agreement between the City of Huntsville and Blue Cross and Blue Shield of Alabama. X is a resolution authorizing the mayor to an agreement with Springbuck for the purpose of analyzing medical claims data and wellness program coordination by Human Resources. Z is a request for authorization to advertise and fill firefighter positions to provide for authorized strength. The chair moves for consolidation approval of 15A through L, 15O, 15Q through X, and 15Z.
Second.
Motion to consolidate approved by the chair, second by Mr. Culver. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 15P is a resolution authorizing the mayor to an agreement between the City of Huntsville and S&ME Inc. for engineering design services for Governor's Drive lane improvements, project number 7117 RD06. The chair moves for approval.
Second.
Second by Mr. Culver. Ms. Martin, could you explain this? I'm all in favor of Governor's Drive being improved.
Yes, sir. This is the design contract to extend the outermost eastbound lane from Longwood Avenue through Bassett Street, and this will allow us to restripe the lane that goes from Franklin Street through Bassett Street is a third through lane.
Okay. Thank you very much. Further discussion?
A question or concern, as I communicated to you, the concern I have, and I guess I'd like to see if it could be extended even further than what y'all are planning on. Reason is, and I've seen it, and I think we saw it in the past, where it's like a demolition derby. You got two cars at the California traffic light, revving up their engines, waiting for that red light to turn green, and then the far right lane and the car that's going on the left lane, they're going straight, and it's a matter of playing chicken, who's going to slow down for whom first. And I know what you're trying to do, and I agree, it's Governor's Drive needs as much relief as we can get it. But I'd like to see if there's a way that thing could be extended up to the church, even past that church area, if you could, just so that there's a long straightaway that, there's line of sight and drivers can see what they're doing. Because potentially it can be very crazy. Cars are speeding up and down there all the time, and a couple of times just where I'm parked waiting for the red light, my red light turns green at Governor's Place, and every now and then there'll be a car that'll run right through that red light, and you guys may be sitting up here looking to replace a council member from District 4.
Well, hopefully not,
Quiet,
but yes,
Miss
we
Reed,
will
I
look
heard
at
that.
it.
Okay.
Yes, sir, I do hear your concern.
Yeah.
We will look at it during the design.
But I think the further up it could go, the better. Plus, the further up it goes, that's more traffic relief, which I understand what you're trying to do up there.
And Mr. Kling, I might say that, I go that way every day too, and that's where I turn off to get on Big Cove Road. And I see lots of courteous citizens waiting and letting people move in front of them and come around in front of them. I don't see them playing chicken and running over each other.
Okay, further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It carries. 15Y is a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute a real estate agreement between the City of Huntsville and Belmina Farm L. Limited for the purchase of approximately 60 acres in Limestone County for roadway, utility, and drainage improvements. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Culver. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Keith. It says in administration, Mayor Battle, who would you like to speak to this?
That would be Mr. Riley, the Belmina.
Okay.
This is a right-of-way acquisition, and it may be Kathy Martin also.
Ms. Martin, will you come to the microphone? The question is, why 60 acres? That seems like a lot.
Yes, sir. This is the Greenbrier Parkway extension that goes through the mega site. And so 60 acres is the amount of right-of-way needed for the 4-lane divided boulevard. And I think it was offered at a appraised value of $1.2 million.
1.2 million, okay.
Yes, sir.
I think our police department has a dual obligation, and that's to protect any and all under their auspices of this city. To simply give them more training is not the answer. I think that Dr. Martin Luther King once said, you cannot teach a man how to do right, but you can legislate how a man will do right. To that end, I hope my councilman would take that into consideration. And as always, thank for the opportunity for this participatory democracy, and I hope more citizens will get involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Timberlake. Sir, do you wish to address the council?
Yes.
If you state your name and address for the record, welcome.
Yes, my name is Gregory Stargell, and I'm staying 117 Whitestone Drive. And I'm coming before you all today because I know the school, Johnson High School, was closed down. And I knew at one point in time y'all was planning to do an RFP. And I was trying to figure out what's the status of that because I would like to be a bidder.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Hamilton, could you address that, please?
Yeah, at this point, we're not moving forward with any RFPs on the site. The planning department has conducted a couple different planning sessions with the public to get some input on thoughts that are there. They have consolidated that. We've spent some time here in recent weeks talking to Councilman Keith about kind of the next step. And while there's a portion of the property that we're using for some city functions right now, just temporarily until they move elsewhere, I would expect later this year we'll do some more formal planning on it, and include public input on utilization of the campus before we come back with a decision to council for master plan. So ultimately, kind of the way our process would work for any piece of public property, the same will be true when we get into more detailed planning with the Grissom campus, the same way we have with John Hunt Park and other significant public properties like that. We'll develop a master plan, which will go before the Planning Commission, ultimately here to council for approval. And once you've approved that master plan, then that would generate the actual actions like an RFP or contracts and things to execute that master plan. So there's still a little ways to go on developing that. There's still some question as to what the uses might be. Our belief is, just given the size of the campus and some of the potential we think that it has, is probably multiple different uses. And quite frankly, it wouldn't surprise me if you don't see multiple RFPs for different components of that in different phases of that development. But we have always seen that as a long-term development challenge, just as we will with the Grissom campus in the same way we're executing John Hunt Park. We will do that off of a master plan that ultimately will have to be approved by City Council before we can then go into more detailed execution of an RFP or contracts.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
If I may.
Mr. Keith?
And I want to also say there will be very intensive conversations. It won't be a widespread of questions. People, as he talked about, we'll have some long-range conversations, but you will leave a number of these meetings in the fall with an understanding of sort of where the city sort of sees the structure, how big the structure is. It won't necessarily be, I guess, dream catching at that point. You'll get a real understanding of, the land, the building, so forth and so on. And I think, looking forward, mid-August, maybe later over in the fall, give you an understanding substantially of what are we thinking when it comes to that, and sort of what the facts are around that building and that property as well. I don't know if we have done a great job of letting people know about that property, but we definitely will in the next meeting, and I'll get you that information.
Ms. Reed?
I'm back. There's several things I want to ask about. One of them, do we really need 60 acres for the road in Limestone County? It was the public that was getting up and talking about Longwood Drive. Nobody from the planning department asked any question or said one word. So, Mr. Kling, if you're doing this in the background and you're trying to cover Longwood in California, I wouldn't go to the top of the hill and mess with any of that and cut him off in one lane. You all really need to have some more public hearings on that right there. I see something tonight slipped in here and you voted on it. Nobody's seen that plan. Nobody. I hate to come down here and say, do your homework before you come in here and vote for something. Have you been talking behind closed doors about it? The department over there hadn't had another meeting on it. I'm asking for one. I'd like for my family, Longwood, and all them church people to see what y'all are doing over there. And people are telling me that somebody's trying to buy the properties. Do right for government. I do love you. People telling me quit telling you that. But I work for God, or I wouldn't tell you that. But anyway, I do love you. Do right what's the government, please. And Councilman Keith, you did have a good
Ms. Reed,
meeting.
address
Thank
your
you.
comments to the chair of the council. Thank you.
Mr. President?
Mr. Kling.
The meeting that Ms. Reed was talking about, Dennis Madsen and I had held, and we had other city people here. It was by design to be a listening meeting. You know, too often, and Ms. Reed, you ought to be the one who would appreciate this, instead of people coming and talking to you and trying to sell you on something, say, this is what we're going to do, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. This was a listening meeting. Dennis, for example, he threw out some very good things. What are your concerns about traffic congestion? What are your concerns about the size of buildings on vacant lots? These were things where people were at the meeting, and there was a lot of great input at. And it was a good meeting.
Ms. Kling.
Okay, but Mr. President, that was the purpose. It was by design to be a listening from the public type of meeting instead of proposing anything specific from the planning department.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Reed, you're out of order. Sir, would you like to address the council?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Andrew Gerganis. I live off Henry Clay Drive in Madison, and I have a few questions about that blasting going on. I'm sure most of you guys are probably familiar with it because it's been in the news a little bit. Do you guys have any kind of timeline yet on how often they're going to be blasting out there? I live about 3/4 of a mile away from where this blasting.
Sir, I don't know, but Mr. Shea has 6 days left, and he would love to answer that question if he's still here. Is Mr. Shea still here?
No,
Okay.
didn't have an item on there.
Sir, Mr. Hamlin, do you happen to know offhand? Sir, if you'll stay just right after the meeting, we'll get your address and email, and we'll get you some information.
Okay, have we even talked to them about like any alternatives other than blasting? I mean, they did one blast, my whole entire house shook. I'm still not sure how we allow blasting within 3/4 of a mile of residential areas. But,
Yeah, and I can't answer that right now, but Mr. Shea, we certainly can get you an answer, and we'll work on that for you.
Okay, well, thanks for your time.
Sure. Would anyone else like to address the council? We're adjourned.